Good morning, you wonderful people. So we're changing things up a little bit. I spoke to Mikon yesterday, and he said something that I also believe is that we should make the pathways a little bit narrower. So we're doing that. We're gonna leave maybe every fifth pathway a bit wider so we can do nice tours through the garden. But our walkways will be only 30 centimeters. Okay, so the men, Lukas, I and Thomas, on the way to the municipality. Lukas, to sort out his erf, we just got a call back from the municipality. We were hoping to get a meeting there. They called us to tell us he's wasting his time. So Lukas is going to jump out and go back to the farm. And then Thomas and I are quickly going to see if we can sort out his water meter. So in order for us to get Thomas's water tag back, he needs to pick up some paperwork from his grandfather. This side. It's been quite a story trying to avoid driving through open sewage. Which side?
Yeah, straight.
That side?
Yeah.
And seeing pieces of township that I've never seen before, which is very interesting. Lekker. Okay, let me pause the video here quickly. Never a boring day in the township. While looking for the grandfather, we came upon this scene. The people were busy delivering some mob justice. A whole group of them beating the living daylights out of a man. And luckily, before it became too serious, the police arrived. So he's going to be still alive. But mob justice is still alive and well in these parts of town. If they catch you steal, or if they catch you, do naughty things, then they all decide they're going to beat you, and then they do. And then obviously when the police starts looking for people that did it, nobody knows who it was. Quickly show you something in Damien's forest. So Damien's forest is really becoming a forest now. But look at this. Mulch is all being eaten by the termites. And there's roly-polies. Roly-polies are normally a very good sign of a very healthy soil ecosystem. So roly-polies makes my heart happy. What I want to show you is even with the termites, you can get fruits. Check the butternuts. Lemon tree here, coming back from the death of moths or caterpillars. Butternut here, nice big one. Everything's looking great. Burst of a pipe there in the bush. We'll close the stop valve and then fix it tomorrow morning. I want to take you on a quick walk and babble. It was quite a fruitless day, I would say. We didn't accomplish most of the things that we set out to do. And but I have a story that I want to tell you. Now, about a year ago, I made a sad video. Shared my sadness on YouTube, and I said to myself, never again. I'm not going to do that again. See how the grass is much lower in the river now than it always was. And this specific story, I was wondering for the last 2 weeks whether I should tell it or not. Week and a half, basically, maybe. Whether I should tell it or not. Because I promised myself back then that I'm never going to do the whole sad thing on camera again. I see I've got 13 new subscribers. So if you're a new subscriber, this is not the common stuff that I share. You're welcome to click away and watch the new videos. I just thought this was a sad but very inspiring story. Okay, so there's this doctor in Otjiwarongo. I met him 13 years ago when we moved in, maybe a little bit less, 10 years ago when we moved in. So Damien's forest, it's really starting to look like a forest now. I met him and he was sitting day in and day out with one of the businessmen in town that was addicted to pills, pain medication. And he would sit and pray with him and exercise with him, and then the guy would relapse And then the next day I would go and fetch him again, and he would try again, and then the guy would relapse and be in. And so it went. And everybody thought, you know what, just let him go. This guy doesn't want to have any help. But he sat with that guy and he helped him. And then that same doctor, I actually mentioned him in my video a couple of days ago, or a couple of weeks ago, when he doctored Simon's foot. He paid for so many people's medical bills. I remember I was driving to Windhoek with a patient once, and the patient had, or a friend, and the friend had his gallbladder exploded. Hold on, I'm stuck in the thorns. And he said, drive to Windhoek. I'll organize things. And as I was driving there, he said, okay, you have to go to Lady Puamba private hospital. I said, listen, this guy doesn't have any medical aid, can't afford a private hospital. And he said, just drive there, we'll make a plan. And he paid basically for the guy's medical expenses, somebody that he didn't know at all at that stage. Simon with his foot, for instance, he phoned me afterwards and he said, how's Opa doing, how's Grandpa doing? And bring Grandpa back. I wanted to run some more tests on him. So he really cared. His wife explains how he prays for his patients. You know, at night, it was one of the things that irks her. When they got married, he used to make a list, or still he makes a list and then he prays for his patients by name. He knew all his patients by name. And so Simon was prayed for. Simon was cared for by somebody that didn't even want to take his money, that didn't want to accept money for what he has done. This is now the friendly forest. This is the state of the friendly forest. You cannot see the African smiles anymore. You can see beans. You can see sunflowers coming up. You can see sorghum. So I had to force him to take the money for Simon's foot. You know, and the stories just continues and continues and continues on the good things he's done for people. He's paid for so many people's medical expenses and written off so many people's medical expenses. So if somebody owes him money, medical expenses, he would just write it off. And if somebody owes another doctor money or a hospital money or something, he would just pay for it. Now anyway, I'm sure you know where the story is going. He's gone now. So with that in mind, he was the kind of person that I said very often, you know, or I made a joke, I want to be like him when I grew up. He danced funnier than me, with more passion. He sang better or more than I did, with less tune. He really lived a full life. He loved his wife with, you know, the fire of 1,000 stars, you can almost say. He spent so much time with his children. His children knew they were loved. His funeral was today. Thousands of people, or hundreds of people, let's say hundreds of people, showed up, crowded the church, and his funeral was held at a very strange time, 10 o'clock on a Wednesday, you know. How was that appropriate for a funeral? But anyway, hundreds of people showed up, crowded the church, standing outside to wait for the church. He was so loved. And he was one of the doctors during COVID that was the only one of the only doctors that was willing to see clients. He would go sleep in the garage for the first couple of weeks until the fear subsided. But while the fear was there, he would sleep in the garage, work from early in the morning until late at night, seeing clients, driving out to clients to the farms. And you know, later on when he was took back into the house, or when he said to himself, okay, it's safe enough to go back into the house again, he would be phoned during the night and say, listen, we lost this patient. And then he would sit and cry. And this is what his wife told me just after COVID. And she would say, what's up? And he said, this and this person died. She would ask, what's his name? And then they would sit together and cry about the patient that they lost. And the next morning he would get up again, work his butt off to try and save these people. One of the people stood up today and said, you know what, my family phoned him once. And this, you must remember, this is now not our tribe. This is not our people. Phoned him and said, this and this and this is what's happening to my father. And he said, rush to the private hospital, I'll get you there. And they said, we don't have medical aid. And he said, I didn't ask you whether you have medical aid. I said, rush to the hospital, I'll meet you there. And he got there, and the father was in such a state that he bowed his head and he prayed for him for 10 minutes. Got up, got all the things that he had to do to save his life. And he saved his life, and he said to him afterwards, I knew I wasn't going to be able to save you by myself. I had to get some help. And turned that guy into a Christian, paid for his medical bills. And he's the reason why that lady, that child, now has a father to grow up with. And the reason why so many people has got parents to grow up with. He even drove out and saved my parents-in-law while they were sick out on the farm during COVID. Both of them had COVID, and he went out and doctored them and gave them medicine. And we never expected money in return. He was well loved. He loved life, loved hunting, was a great fisherman, loved dancing, loved singing, loved his children, loved his wife, all of that, and people loved him. Then about, I would say 4 or 5 months ago, his body started shutting down. Stress attacks, he internalized all of that pain of everybody. As I said with Simon, for instance, he felt Simon's foot. Simon's not his tribe. Called him grandpa, form of respect. He felt his pain, and he internalized that, and he would pray for Simon at night. And he worried enough about Simon to call me for the next couple of days to ask how Simon is going. And he would do that with hundreds of patients. And he internalized all of that pain, I believe, and so his body couldn't handle that anymore, and he started shutting down. His legs didn't want to move anymore, his arms didn't want to move anymore. He was basically paralyzed. And the doctors took him up, gave him some meds to try and get him, healthy again. And the way I understood it is, with all of that drugs that they gave him to try and get him healthy again, he got addicted to pain medication. The very first thing I met him was healing somebody addicted to medication. That's how I met him. And he got addicted to this medication and went to rehab. He had loads of support from the community. Hundreds of people brought his family food and went to sit with him and talk to him and showed him love. And he was in and out of rehab. And he prayed, and people tried to help him. And, he had the best doctors in the world. He had the best friends. He had everything that you can imagine. And then about 2 weeks ago, he was taken back into rehab again. And just after Simon's thing, came back, he was healthy enough to work again. I saw him and I said, listen, I just want to see you in real life again. It's been months since I saw you, and we had a superficial conversation, the ones that you have without being deep. How are you? Good, how's work? How's life? Blah, blah, blah. We had a conversation like that when he was doctoring Simon. and went back into rehab, and then he somehow found a way to commit suicide. It just became too much. Okay, so we're in the river again. Now, there's a couple of things that I want to take away from this for myself. And the one is, you know, it matters when helping people and not showing it to the world. One of the people got up today and he said how his farm workers bursted out crying when they heard that the doctor was gone. And they were all not his tribe. And they were all torn into pieces by him not being there, because he would treat them like humans. He would treat them better than their own doctors would treat them. And he would treat them and refuse to accept their money. So it matters. It matters what you do. He did all of these good things, never found any praise or looked for any praise on any of these things. He just did it. I'm sure there's so many things that people don't even know about that he did. And I think it matters if even if it's just for a daughter growing up with a father. It matters. So the one thing that I want to take away for myself is that I need to up my game. I said for many years that I want to be like him when I grow up. I think it's time for me to grow up and be like him. Now, the irony of is not wasted on me of saying do good things off camera while being on camera. It's definitely, I see the irony, but I still need to up my game, I feel. I just quickly want to show you this. This is my beaver analog dam. And, you know, it was just a dry river bed. And we planted some figs. And this one survived. The idea is to cut it eventually and put it down. The lacunas, somebody asked about the lacunas in here. The lacunas, I don't think made it. I can't see any. I've been here yesterday. I can't see any. The farm also doesn't seem to dry up. Everything just stays wet, which is a wonderful thing for our climate. I mean, yeah, I'm not going to complain about it. Everything just keeps on staying wet. So that's the first thing. I need to up my game. Said many years that I want to be like him. It's time for me to start being like him more. That's the first thing. And the second thing is to live with more compassion, you know. This guy had everything that I had and more. He lived, I feel, a life with more love. Gave people more love. He received more love. He had more money. He gave away more money. He loved his children. He was more active outside. He dragged me to church camps, and you know, whenever he felt and I was falling behind, he would drag me out to camps and be active and be fishing and be hunting. He really loved as if he was living 5 lives in one. But yeah, Beshy said, I think it was Beshy, no, it was Brenda that said they call it the dark wolf or the black dog or something disease. The depression in him. Yeah, that pain inside of him that you do not understand and you do not know how to heal. Doesn't matter which doctors you have, doesn't matter how many friends you have, you simply cannot heal it. And so live with compassion, feel other people's pain and understand that I'm saying this to myself, so don't think I'm preaching to you. Don't think that you know what other people are going through, because you don't. It's simply too difficult. And don't have your funeral on a Wednesday morning at 10 o'clock. Trying to work and then go to a funeral and then go back to work isn't a great idea. I cried myself into a headache it was the saddest thing you could imagine. Just hundreds of people. Ahead of time we said it's going to be a celebration of life, you know. He was a singing and dancing man, and he had no rhythm, and he definitely didn't have the voice for singing, but he was doing it, you know, full, and that's what they wanted to project. Still hundreds of people crying on a Wednesday, all together in a church. His daughter did this ballet dance on a song, and while she did it, she cried. Saddest thing that you can imagine. Anyway, let's focus on how green everything is. Yeah, so I have hope. It is the saddest story that I recently happened in my life anyway. I thought I'd share with you how much impact one person could have in life. And I just want to show you these beans. Beans everywhere. All farm is just filled with beans. Everywhere. And I think that's going to be the end of my story. I hope I didn't lose too many subscribers, but sometimes I think it's worth telling stories about people that's worth telling stories about. That is going to be the end of my story. I hope you have a wonderful day. See you tomorrow.